Who the hell picked this up?
All right, welcome into another episode of the Prodigy Sports Podcast. I'm your host, Chris, and right next to me, we have the rustic one, PJ. What's up, man?
Feeling very rustic. Very rustic.
Under him, his friends call him Super Sexy Steve. Steve, what's up, man?
What's going on, man?
And the proclaimed Timothy Encyclopedia Bartnick. What's up, man?
What's going on?
Hey, man. Just everybody is just like, this guy he's a machine. The comments are rolling in. So thank you for blessing us with your knowledge.
My pleasure.
You are the Rocky Balboa of drafting. He is a machine.
All right, so we're going to run through the entire second round. So Cincinnati is on the board first with pick number 33. I've already thrown this out there to you guys beforehand. Last night, you may have got a text. Number 33 is available. So is anybody interested in trading up for number 33?
There's somebody in that division that could trade in front of the Colts just to crush Chris.
I'm trying to be as fair as possible. So as the Cincinnati GM, I feel like they have a lot of needs and they would actually want to trade back. So that's why I'm throwing this out there. Tim, do your Miami Dolphins, are they any interest?
No, I think we're in a good spot. We're going to hang on to our capital at this point.
All right. PJ, any of your teams?
PJ, you still there?
Yeah. Nope, I don't think so.
All right. And Steve, none of yours, right?
No. Sorry, man.
Oh, no, it's all good. All right. Well, with that being said, Cincinnati has a ton of needs, but offensive line play was pretty terrible last season. So we are going to take Ezra Cleveland, tackle from Boise State. We have a ton. Like I said, our offensive line was a big problem for us. And, I mean, we could just go with the best available offensive lineman at this point. So that's who's best on the board. We were hoping one of those tackles would fall. Maybe Andrew Jackson would have fell, but obviously he didn't. So unfortunately, I guess, we still feel good about the player we got. Tim, I know you've done a ton of offensive line, research. So you want to give the people a little info on him?
Yeah, Ezra Cleveland has quite a ton of mixed reviews. People have said he could be possibly a late first-round pick, and some like him in the third round. So he gets out of his stance pretty quick, and he can handle the speed rushers against maybe wide nine. So he has okay lateral agility, good anticipation and instincts with twists and stunts. But he has to get much stronger in his lower body. With strength, maybe he could improve into a right tackle. I don't know if he's a plug-and-play starter at this point. But looking at Cincinnati, I know they got rid of Cordy Glenn in the offseason. So they definitely, it's a good pick as far as them improving a position. So with this guy in general, it's a good second-round pick. He could be a little bit more of a project. It might take a little bit more time, but he'll help him in the run game, help him with Joe Mixon. But he just needs a little bit more strength, functional strength.
Mm-hmm. Anybody else got anything on him, or are we going to continue on?
No, I would have loved to see him go to Cleveland just because. Cleveland to Cleveland.
Cleveland.
Yeah, no, it's basically what Tim said. I read a lot of the same stuff. There's guys that are talking about Cleveland actually trading back up into the end of the first to get him if they were to go a different route, or even trading back and taking him later because actually Cleveland really does love this guy from what I hear. So Ohio native team Cincinnati jumps in front of him. I kind of like it. And they basically are getting two tackles now because, was it Jonah Williams? Is that his name?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Jonah Williams didn't play at all last year, so you're basically getting you're getting him back because your first round pick didn't play at all last year. So
yeah,
two bookends, and you're going to take a young quarterback in Burrow. I think you got a good start.
Well, they took Jonah Williams in the first. They took Michael Jordan, the guard, in the fourth.
Out of Ohio State?
Out of Ohio State. And then the year prior to that, their first-round pick was Billy Price. So they have options to play these younger guys, whether it's going to be guard, center, in the interior. So with Jonah Williams, and now you're taking Ezra Cleveland, who I do like at right tackle to kind of eventually take over for Bobby Hart. It's good pick and it's good value at this point. So
Well, Bobby Hart could probably kick inside.
yeah,
I mean,
they're definitely getting better and good.
they're
shape
gonna
with
yeah
the
they're gonna
offensive
shuffle
line.
some things around. It's definitely a great value pick.
And they need to do it now that they have Burrow and they have weapons on the outside. Obviously, AJ Green, Tyler Boyd, John Ross.
All
So I
right.
like it.
Yeah, awesome. All right, well, with that, Chris Ballard of the Indianapolis Colts, we're on the board, and we are sprinting to the virtual draft
You
podium.
can't believe what happened.
And we are taking AJ Epinenza from Iowa.
Dang, you're letting love fall even farther.
I
huh?
am so serious.
I
I
believe
think-
you.
I'll give you the reasoning why. So
'Cause
I
you
actually
wanted
wrestled.
Bjorn Winter 2.0.
The reason why I'm doing it, number one, Justin Houston is not getting any younger. So, and I feel like he would be a great mentor for him. We've seen videos of him mentoring actually other players. I also am concerned about the quarantine and everything going on. I think Jordan Love is going to need to be in the system, and I kind of feel like he's going to fall a year behind. And we're looking to win now. And when this guy fell as far as he did, we have a first-round grade on him, actually top 20 grade. So when he falls here, we think it's great value. Can't pass on that. And just knowing my GM, seriously, I just think that if this played out this way, he would take the guy that is going to be more of a known commodity than actually taking the chance on Jordan Love. So anybody have any insight on that? Did I surprise everybody, or did you kind of have a feeling?
Had an idea, but I assumed you might take him because that's what all the consensus Colts want out there. But there's been reports coming out recently that says that they're not going to force the quarterback. They're not going to force it.
Yeah,
And
he just had a press conference yesterday saying that exact thing.
yeah, and it's like the whole, even for us as, like calling ourselves analysts right now, even for us as the analysts, it's harder not having these pro days and you don't get to find out who they're bringing in for meetings and having a one-on-one with, because that'll help narrow down some of this draft process, even for us as in predicting this.
Mm-hmm.
So if you don't get those, like you were saying about Tua and the medicals, if you don't get these medicals, stuff's going to fall. It's just the way it is, because now you're basically going off of what you have actually seen on game tape and what is in the know.
Mm-hmm.
You got to trust
And-
your scouts.
The other thing is too, in the NBA, I'll use that comparison because I'm such an NBA guy. Kristaps Porzingis was drafted number 4 overall in his draft.
Yeah.
2 years later, Bender comes out and everybody is like, "Oh yeah, he's going to be the next Porzingis." Just because somebody looks and plays like somebody does not mean they're the same person. And so for me, I'm not going to force Jordan Love to be Patrick Mahomes, which people are trying to call him Mahomes light, or have that Mahomes ability. He might turn into Patrick Mahomes, great, but I think the percentage chance is lower than the ability for him to be actually the top guy. So anybody else got anything on this pick?
Yeah, I like the kid a whole bunch as far as power. He fits the 4-3 scheme, so he's going to start outside, but he can move inside on pass rushing downs if you wanted to bring a speed guy off the edge. But it's all about power. He doesn't have much bend or dip or lateral mobility or agility, but just heavy
He's not
hands. Yeah.
Right.
If you look at his stats, 30.5 tackles, 22 sacks, 8 forced fumbles.
Is he a one-year starter too?
7.
Yeah, only 1 year starter.
Really?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, before this, last year he played on 90% of the defensive snaps. Before that, it was sub 50% the first 2 years. So, but I just think the potential's there. And I love the coaching staff. I mean, Robert Mathis is there every single day as well. You have Robert Mathis and Justin Houston going to be able to teach him everything everything they know. I love that potential there. And, we have Philip Rivers. So, woo.
Buying in.
DJ, you had something to say before that?
Yeah, I think AJ was supposed to be a first-round pick. I don't think he'll make it to the second round in the real draft. I didn't realize he was only a one-year starter, but everything I've read about this guy's ability and talent and what they project him to be in the NFL, I think he'll go in the first round.
And that's why it would be, if this fell this way, I think the Colts it'd be a no-brainer pick. So
yeah, I agree. I'm not a Jordan Love fan anyway. So
yeah,
I don't know
All
what
right.
the Colts are going to do next year if Rivers tanks this year. I mean, what are they going to do? Draft a quarterback next year and then wait a couple years for him to
Jacoby
develop?
coming back. Jacoby again. It is what it is. Like, they're not going to force it, and there's some later guys that they might be able to take that can help out. So, all right. With that being said, Steve and the Detroit Lions, you guys are on the board.
Yeah, well, we were able to lock up Chase Young in the first, which we did not see coming, so it kind of changed our whole entire draft board. We're looking at corner here, and it's between two guys right now. I'm going to go with A.J. Terrell out of Clemson.
Last memories of A.J. Terrell is kind of getting torched against LSU. So
Yeah, but the year before he had a pick six in the championships.
Yeah, I know, but I'm just saying the lasting impression, of course, is that. So
right, he's got 4.42 speed. They tend to run some. He runs mostly press, so I'm pretty sure they run some of that in Detroit. They missed out on Okuda, but being able to get this guy in the second to match up with Chase Young, I think it helps solidify that defense because Matt Patricia is a defensive coach, and he seems to be focusing mostly on that defensive side. Like we said earlier, he was moving some chairs around. I'm going to lose a guy, but go gain a guy from New England, which is the same exact guy, really, but just has a different name. They do the same thing.
Whoever else has got something on that.
Tim?
Yeah, I think he's one of those newer kind of blend of corners, 6'1", athletic. He does get a little grabby downfield, and you obviously saw he get burnt, but he's got the physical tools. He doesn't really want to tackle as much. He's kind of the comp I have on him is Kirkpatrick. But he played, he's at Clemson for 3 years, started for 2. Decent eye discipline. He is better in a man scheme, like Steve said, but he can kind of do a little bit of both.
He's played a little off ball in zones, right?
Versatile. So I had him on one of the boards I looked at. He was in the top 20. So you never know. But it's something that Detroit definitely needed after getting rid of Darius Slay. I know they signed Desmond Trufant, but Detroit is. I know the owner kind of mandated a win now for Matt Patricia. So while you see a lot of things looking like, oh, they're going to take Tua in the first, they're definitely going to look to trade down, acquire picks, accumulate picks, and
I would have traded this pick, but I don't think
no one was willing to come
Yeah,
up.
it's been kind of hard to trade, so.
But it's a good move for a defensive-minded head coach.
Yes, I feel like this draft is stacked with like solid but not great corners. So I think you're getting maybe your second corner in a lot of these guys. And Trufant is a serviceable one. So me getting Terrell as my number 2, I'm okay with.
It is a fairly deep corner class. I'm sorry.
Steve, so if you had stayed or at 3, you're not able to trade down, Chase Young's not there. Is Okuda your pick then?
When I was at 3 and Chase Young was gone? Yes.
Yeah, and you weren't able to trade down.
I was going Okuda all the way, and I probably would have been looking at maybe a defensive tackle in this round.
Right.
Or something in the edge.
It flipped everything for you.
Mm-hmm.
All right, let's keep moving along. The Giants are on the board, so Tim, take it away.
Okay, so the Giants, in the first round, we were able to get a tackle to solidify the right side, I guess, for now, of the offensive line with Jedrick Wills. Now, this is kind of an interesting spot to where the board doesn't quite line up to needs. We could definitely use another linebacker, even though we signed Blake Martinez. but running the 3-4, an upgrade could be had there, or as an edge rusher. But there's not really anything there that I'm looking at and really liking all too much. So this pick may come as a surprise to most, but
You do you.
when we talked about, I'll kind of make the pick and then explain it after. So the pick I'm going to make right here is going to be safety Antoine Winfield Jr. out of Minnesota.
I'm not mad about that.
And the reasoning behind that, he's definitely moving up at this point with less than a week left to go before the draft. He projected late first, early second. And if you look at the Giants roster, they do have 2 starting caliber safeties in Jabril Peppers and Julian Love, but the NFL is becoming more pass happy, especially in that division. I know Dallas, you can say, is a run first team, but they had to throw it quite a bit down the stretch when Zeke was ineffective. And this is someone I think that being 5'9" is someone that can easily move into that nickelback role. So they just signed Bradbury from Carolina. They have DeAndre Baker they took in the first last year at corner. And this is someone to kind of take over for Haley Grant in the slot, as well as move into that third safety. So he doesn't have great long speed, but this is where I put him at nickel. He's super quick, has great feet. He can drop back and play deep zone, but his ball skills are insane. And he's just a firecracker. So he flies to the ball, gets into the frame, he'll support the run. He doesn't give up extra yards. And he doesn't have elite necessarily mobility, but he's smooth and fluid, and he can play man. He's just versatile. So I think it's someone that could definitely help their defense. And the fact that you're playing in a division where you look at the receiving core of Philly, it's kind of a mess right now. They just lost Aguilar. Alshon's hurt. Arcega-Whiteside didn't really pop off. The Redskins, all they really have is McLaurin, except for the fact that we gave him Judy in the first. And then Dallas just re-signed Amari, but they lost Cobb. So if I'm looking at the Giants and as a coach and going in there, now their defense just becomes that much stronger of an asset to take away the pass from these other 3 teams. So that's why I made the pick.
The league has kind of gone to that hybrid safety as well. So I know Philly's been doing it for years, where they run a lot of 3 safeties, where Malcolm Jenkins actually would slide into the slot and you would move somebody else to single high, or, goes double high and he would cover the tight end. And we ran a lot. We always have 3 safeties deep in Philly, whether it was Corey Graham or it was Sendejo. There was always a third safety. I mean, it's becoming the new thing. Instead of putting extra linebackers on the field, you're putting extra safeties instead, because the safeties are usually are quality tacklers, but they can still cover, where linebackers usually lacking in coverage.
If there was a front 7 player I felt that was available there that was a little bit fit the need, I would have taken it. Maybe if Zach Bond hadn't gone in the first, or I think it's just too high for another linebacker. So,
Hey, Gettleman, you do you, man. You got the binder to show for it, so
Yeah.
well, we all know that Gettleman doesn't listen to anybody's draft boards or what they think. We all kind of get surprised by what he does every year. So,
Yep. All right, let's keep it moving. So, PJ, you are up with the 37th pick from Washington in the trade that you made with the Chargers, trading the number 2 overall pick. So, take it away.
Yeah, well, the player that I really wanted is there, and that's the reason why I made the trade, although I did not know that there was a possibility of me getting another first. Taking this player in the first round would have been a reach, so there is some consolation there. But the Redskins need a tight end because of Jordan Reed leaving, and Cole Kmet is the best tight end available from Notre Dame. I think we've seen how tight ends have succeeded in Washington when Jordan Reed was healthy. Even Vernon Davis, toward the end of his career, has been successful. But the difference is Cole Kmet is an all-around good tight end and a good blocker, something Jordan Reed was not. So I think I'm not so sure he's going to put up fantasy numbers his rookie year, but I don't think there's any question he's the best tight end. So the Redskins, rather than taking Chase Young with their first pick, were able to get 2 new weapons for their young quarterback. So they have a tight end now and a wide receiver. So Cole Kmet.
He was excited
What?
about that pick, knocked the phone over and everything. Pounded the table for this guy.
None of us are going to comment that it's yet another offensive
Player.
player. I can't wait to look at the stats. Percentage of fantasy relevant players drafted by PJ per.
Yeah, I'm going to kill you guys in fantasy in this draft. I will, especially you guys with all the offensive linemen.
Obviously, unless we make like pancake stats, we're going to get killed. So, Tim, you got anything on that?
So, yeah, I definitely understand the need for tight end. The Redskins are kind of in flux, is a nice way to put it. They did sign Logan Thomas, the former quarterback, to play tight end. He was in Detroit, and I know he does have a little bit bigger frame to him.
Yeah, he's 6'6" plus.
Yeah, Cole Kmet is 6'4", 230-ish, 235. And they did also sign Richard Rodgers, formerly of Green Bay and
Cole Kmet is
Philly.
6'6", 260.
Cole Kmet 6'6", 260. I have different numbers. That's my fault. So, well, then I guess that definitely helps in the blocking game. I had a little bit of information on Kmet that he wasn't as good. He, like an isolation one-on-one blocker, he can maybe help double team and pinch and block, but so he has room to grow in that area. But soft hands.
He's willing though.
And yeah, if you look at it from a quarterback standpoint, what do you want to do when your quarterback's in trouble? You look for that safety valve, and tight end is a quarterback's best friend. So I understand the pick, and I think it's a good one. The value, maybe it might be a little high for my taste, but you know what? Like we said 5 minutes ago, do what you do. Do what you want to do. So another interesting note that just happened, I think today on the tight end market is Chicago released Trey Burton, who they just signed 2 years ago.
Trey Boo Boo.
So while we know this is a very thin tight end class, it'll be interesting to see what happens with that in the next 4 or 5 days prior to the draft. If anyone takes a flyer on him, I know they signed him for 4 year, 32, 34 million. Yeah. So
yeah, $8 million a year. Ooh.
Yeah, it's definitely.
They're paying him to leave basically too, because they still owe him money.
Yeah. So all in all, I understand that pick. I have a friend who's a huge Redskin fan, and we talk about the biggest need on the roster is tight end every week that we talk. So
right.
Yeah, it definitely makes sense.
I think he's like a poor man's Witten.
Oh, that's not a bad comp.
It's not.
Yeah.
I mean, a tight end is definitely devalued in this draft. You might have gotten him with. Doesn't Washington have a second?
Second round pick.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's all over the board because I've seen him beginning of the process, maybe the only first round tight end, but as they dive more into it, it's kind of thinned, and it's either him or the kid out of Dayton. It's one or two, Troutman, and the range has gone from the end of the first to the fourth. It's all over the place on the tight ends.
Oh, go ahead.
Yeah, so they don't have their second round pick. So
Yeah,
I think that's another reason why I decided to make that trade.
Okay.
So do you guys think that Cole would have lasted to the third round?
That's a little tougher to predict.
I'll go because in a lot of mocks here, the Colts have been taking him. Notre Dame guy. There's ties there.
Local ties, correct.
We have a little bit of a need, and I mean, just with the state of Indiana, if you play in Indiana or have done anything, they want to keep you here. So that's something. But I think he could have lasted till the third round, if I'm going to be honest. But it's not a terrible pick. You have good rationale. I mean, it makes sense to me. So it's like you said, it's just maybe a little early.
That's right. I don't know if he would have lasted to the third. I think he might have gone in the second.
That's
where it's
mid
hit
to
or miss.
late.
It's
You
just
might have to trade back in.
It's just like in fantasy. If that's your guy and you want him, you go get him because if you wait and he's not there, then you're just thinking about what if.
Kicking yourself, yep.
Mm-hmm.
All right, let's keep it moving. Carolina, Steve, you are up, man.
Okay, so the Panthers went Jeff Okudah in the first round in a ridiculously exciting fall for us. We were pretty happy about that. We were going to go DT in the first round, so I guess we're going to be looking at DT in this round. We had a first-round grade on this guy and he fell to us in the second. So we're pretty excited about taking Ross Blacklock out of TCU, the DT. Where's my page at?
Who are the teams? Who are the schools that are in TCU's conference?
Baylor. I don't remember which one.
You can tell we're all college football guys.
I was gonna say,
I was just trying to see if they were heavy running teams that they went up against.
Yeah, he projects more as he didn't get a lot of sacks. He's not a sack guy. He projects more of like the run stuffer, but he's a do hard type guy. He's got good size, 6'3", 290. He played mostly nose tackle in a 4-3.
So to answer your question, I should know this a little bit better offhand, but the way the teams have switched conferences, it's kind of hard to keep up, and I haven't been following my college like I should.
Yeah.
Baylor, Iowa State, Kansas State, Oklahoma, Oklahoma State, TCU, as we mentioned, Texas Tech, and West Virginia.
There's
So
some good teams
technically
in
it's still it's one of those ones where it's funny because you call it the Big 12 and there's only 10 teams because all these teams are moving around.
They switched. That's why I can't keep up with that.
Like the
Big
SEC
10 and Big 12
has-
switch. They're,
Well, just like when I know the SEC when it changed when they added Missouri and Texas A&M. It's like okay, but anyway,
any consideration to take Marlon Davidson there?
Yeah, actually, off air, me and Tim talked about that. Do you like production or do you like potential?
Mm-hmm.
And it was, you could have won either way, but coming as a Baylor coach, I'm sure he's seen Blacklock. I'm assuming that he might lean that way because he's seen him a couple times.
Mm.
And you kind of go, like we said, there's no pre-draft things going on, so you kind of go off of what you know. And if you're a Baylor coach, you've seen this guy a couple times a year, you won against, or once a year, and you win against him. You're going to go with what you know out of compared to an SEC Auburn guy.
Yeah, just a
All
little
right.
more. Just to touch on Blacklock a little bit. He has all the tools. It's just more about kind of processing and understanding where he goes. So as far as he's got power, size, motor, he gets off blocks. He played a little two gap in TCU, but he can play odd or even front, so it really doesn't matter. But fluid, slippery. The only thing that was kind of knock against him. I know we talk about injuries, but he did have an Achilles injury in 2018. But
and they
other
say
than that,
he kind of missed that burst. Like once he has that first step, he doesn't have anything else in his pass rush repertoire. So that's why I think he's going to be more of a run stuffer. But Carolina needs pretty much everything along the defensive side. So I'm going to pick him up there. And I did consider that. It's funny you knew that.
Yeah. Oh, because I already scratched off Marlon because that's where I thought you were going. And I was like, oh, all right.
Yeah, I literally was bouncing it back and forth, and like most mocks, I've seen Blacklock's gone a lot higher, and I just, like I said, I know the coaching staff has seen him, so I just kind of leaned that way this time. Next time I could have went the other way.
and Carolina could use anything on defense. I mean, they just lost possibly one of the top 10 defenders in the NFL, Luke Kuechly. So, I mean, you can't really replace a guy like that, but just putting another, like potentially Pro Bowler on the D line that you're getting in the second round is never a bad idea.
Yeah. All right, let's keep it rolling. So, Tim, you got back-to-back picks here. So, first up with Miami and then second with Houston. So, take it away.
So, Miami.
You say it louder, maybe it'll.
Come on.
Yeah,
Come on.
I think most of the panel knows where I'm leaning here. We took linebacker and edge rusher in the first round as well as offensive tackle. Still have a ton of needs. We can go a lot of different direction, and when it comes down to it, looking at the board, what's still available, it comes down to two positions for me, and that's running back and safety. I'm going to go ahead and feel like I'm getting very good value here. He's not the number one player on my running back list, but like I said, I did watch tape on him, and the kid can be special. So that being said, I'm going to go ahead and take the running back out of Georgia, DeAndre Swift.
That's great value. That's great value because everything's
the
mocking
most
that team in the
excited-
first round.
Most excited PJ's been the whole second round.
So
Yeah, there's the 1.01 dynasty rookie draft pick right there.
Well,
If
for
Swift
me-
goes to Miami, he is going to be special year one.
Well,
gonna be
for me, it just complements Howard's running style.
right.
And he's a little better at receiving the ball than Howard is. So you have your 1-2 punch, and they follow the New England tree. If they're winning, you want Jordan Howard. If they're losing, you're going to want Swift in
Right.
fantasy.
And it, like PJ alluded to, it is someone that could be that number one fantasy running back. The Dolphins were horribly inept last year at running the
What's his
football
name?
in
Couldn't
any
even fall
capacity.
forward for a yard.
Yeah, Kalen Balazs was
Oh,
bad.
Oh my gosh.
We were
The
bringing
overdrafted Kalen
Yeah,
Balazs.
Miles Gaskins and Patrick Lairds and all kinds of stuff. So we kind of touched on it at the end of the last episode that he has special elusiveness and receiving ability. So I thought about going safety right here and kind of maybe trying to get either J.K. Dobbins or Cam Akers with our pick at 56. But the value is just kind of too hard to pass up on here in the second round. And he brings that home run, big play potential to our team. So it's just kind of tough to pass up right there.
All right, well, we'll keep it going then. You're up again with Houston right now.
Okay. So just
Yeah,
flipping my
good luck
page
being
here.
Bob.
Hey,
He's the new Al Davis.
So-
I'm just gonna throw a trade out there. All right, we have a Colts here, second rounder for Deshaun. Just ask it.
He's taken.
Second rounder for Deshaun Watson. Would you throw in a sixth?
Yeah. Got him.
Yep,
So-
yep. Send it in.
All right. So let's briefly talk about Houston since we haven't. They don't have a first round pick since my Dolphins were able to, I want to say, take advantage of Mr. Bill O'Brien, and we were able to get 2 first rounds, one this year and one next year, and a second round next year for Laramie Tunsil and Kenny Stills. So the Texans definitely made some interesting moves. Most people know, just touch on it briefly. They added David Johnson, Brandon Cooks, Randy Cobb, and they lost DeAndre Hopkins. You could say Carlos Hyde and Lamar Miller, but basically when you boil that trade down, it looks like DeAndre Hopkins for David Johnson and Brandon Cooks, which everyone knows who got the better end of that deal, and it definitely wasn't Houston. So it's tough as a franchise that you have one pick. I think maybe even the next 2 rounds. It's pretty bad over in Houston, in my opinion. Even though the teams won the division 4 out of the last 5 years, Chris.
Barely.
Does that sound right?
Yeah.
So either that or they made the playoffs 4 out of the last 5, even if they hadn't won the division. So for needs on this team, looking at their roster, I think they could use help on the edge, interior offensive line, some interior defensive line, and even though they did make the trade for Tunsil, their line's still in flux. And the fact that the Colts just made another pick to their front 7, I want to lean toward protecting the quarterback.
It's your last valuable asset.
I mean,
Yeah, until they trade him to the Patriots next year.
right.
Bill O'Brien's an inside guy. He was sent there to destroy Houston and rebuild
Yep.
New England.
I mean,
Yep. Patricia too, working in Detroit, doing the same thing.
And they'll both be hired back like Josh McDaniels was.
so it's tough.
Oh, we're going to have our first timeout.
No, I don't want to. I know I'm taking way too long.
And you got plenty of time.
So, yeah, I feel like I'm in the fantasy draft and I don't know what to do. No, I think at this point, it may be considered a reach to some, but we're going to go ahead and take Lucas Niang, offensive tackle, once again dipping into the TCU pool.
TCU's got a lot of prospects out there this year. Was he injured this year? Did he fight some kind of injury? Did he play hurt?
He had a hip injury.
Okay.
Yeah.
I want to say I read somewhere he played hurt.
So just talk about him real quick. Super high upside, mobility, and he fits in the zone scheme.
Got big size, too.
Huge, 6'7", 320 plus. So he maybe need a little bit of footwork refinement, but the physical skill is all there. He can anchor. He's above average with his flexibility. He has more than functional athleticism to see how he moves for a guy that big, and fairly high football IQ. So he'll push people around. He'll be good. And just when you look at going what they did with their off season, they lost one of their best receivers, but they gained a running back. So if you're going to pay that kind of price for a running back, you got to give them something someone to run behind. So I give them their bookend tackle, who maybe could slide into guard, but I don't know. They're just in flux. I don't know what they're doing with. They definitely weren't happy with Titus Howard last year. I know some may say, "What's he doing taking 2 tackles after they just took one in the first round?" But I'm just not happy with the way things are right now. One of these kids is going to slide into guard and be an upgrade over Zach Fulton. So that's my take.
So you took Isaiah Wilson?
I took Lucas Niang.
Oh, Lucas Niang.
Yeah, might be. Might be considered a little high, but
Hey, man,
Hard
you're
to
the
reach when you have one
encyclopedia.
pick.
None of us are going
Yeah,
to
it's
question
just-
you.
Yeah, that's right.
I mean,
no, feel free.
it's all personal preference, really. Especially like you threw out Isaiah Wilson, which is still on the board. It's all personal preference, really.
I thought about
And
Wilson.
there's Texan ties.
I think that this guy has just a little bit higher ceiling. So
He's got a good wide base. He's a solid frame. He's got long arms, 34 and a quarter. Not super long, but long enough. He's got big hands too. I think he'll be fine. And like you said, being in Houston, TCU, you get to see that right there in your face every day. So,
It feels very Bill O'Brien-y.
well, you have to reach when you have one pick.
if you compare him to
Bill O'Brien would have took a receiver.
if you compare him to Isaiah Wilson, he just has a little bit better athleticism. I think
PJ, is that you?
He's a little tighter. And
Way to go,
doesn't have
PJ.
he doesn't have as much awareness in pass pro. So we saw how much Deshaun Watson was on the ground last year.
Yeah, anything helps that. And as long as he's somewhat mobile, you should be fine because you want a guy because with Deshaun Watson, who's a mobile quarterback, he moves around a lot. You want a guy that continues to work because the pocket necessarily breaks down, but you have to recover block. And I think this guy has done enough of that. So it's a pretty solid fit.
Yeah, we were kind of hoping maybe like an Epinesa fell to us or something along those lines, and I just thought it was a little. The other guy I considered was Josh Uche from Michigan. Was the only other player I really considered there. So,
just for context, for Houston, you guys had the Cardinals pick. You lost your own pick, obviously, in the Brandon Cooks trade. You do own your third, but the Dolphins also own your 4th rounder. And you own a 5th, and then you have 3 7ths. So there's that,
That's where he's going to get all of his starters.
Yeah.
Oh, Bob.
Well, he thinks he's a new Belichick. He's going to go to, Publix and find himself a receiver.
Sorry for taking so long. I just want to keep it fitting in the Bill O'Brien mold. Make it seem that I know what I'm doing when I really have no clue.
You're fooling me. So, all right. Next person up is the Cleveland Browns. So, PJ, take it away.
Yeah, what Tim did with Houston made me question what I was going to do for this pick because getting another tackle wouldn't be the end of the world. And they could slide into guard possibly. Baker Mayfield certainly needs protection. Gosh, that wasn't what I planned on doing.
So do what you planned on doing.
Yeah, go with the original plan.
Yeah. All right. I'm going to take what?
Nothing.
Not going to be a fantasy player, right? So I'm going to take someone who before the combine was rated by some people as the number one safety out there, and that's Grant Delpit of LSU. He has really good ball skills, so he might not be the fantasy player racking up tackles for IDP
He'll
leagues.
help that defense be a better.
But this is a safety that could do it all. So I think it'll help.
He's got a little Malcolm Jenkins to his game. He can play the slot, he can play single high, he can play double high. He missed a lot of tackles last year, but I really feel like it was because he kind of mailed it in. You know, he knew he was going to go high in the draft, and it probably cost him because really he should have went first round off of his previous year's tape, 2018 tape. But he missed like something like absurd amount, 40% of his tackles and run support.
Yeah, and he's a big guy, so he should be getting a lot more tackles.
Very similar to Malcolm Jenkins, in my opinion.
Yeah, I absolutely love his tape. I almost took him with Miami's 39th pick not too long ago. But if you look at their team, Carl Joseph, they just got as a free agent from Oakland, who was a former first-round pick out of West Virginia. And then Andrew Sendejo from Minnesota.
He's a great third/fourth safety.
I am not sold on that guy at all.
He just keeps sticking around.
I know he does, but Delpit, I think he plug and play at free safety, and then along with Denzel Ward and Greedy Williams, just makes that secondary even better. So I have no qualms with that pick whatsoever. The kid's definitely a center fielder, but he's not afraid to come up and make plays in the run game. So the value there, yeah, he was a first round projected pick, and he's starting to slide a little bit, but I like that pick a ton.
All right, Steve, you were up with the Jacksonville Jaguars, and I just want to throw this out there. I have seen mocked a ton of places recently that this could be a Jordan Love team here. So I just want to throw that out there.
I'm glad you saw that, but I would also like to say I've seen this in several areas as well, Chris. I'd like to trade this pick back because we are broke and we have a lot of holes. So if anybody would like to jump up, maybe there's somebody you met like Jordan Love's out there. Maybe there's another receiver or something you guys are in love with. PJ, there's receivers out there, bud. You want to come on up? Trade some of those thirds. We're not doing those.
My teams already have the receivers. I can't get another one.
Sure you can.
All the fantasy parts. It's all done.
So I guess that's no on the trading, huh?
Yeah, that's a no.
All right, well, I mean, I could go several different ways here. I can continue to build the defense, which, let's be honest, they could definitely use more defense. Or I can take a receiver here and be that guy.
Hey, man. Do what you got to do.
Yeah, I will take – I think I'm going to lean receiver here because they need someone on the other side of Chark. Who's over there? Conley right now isn't really blowing anyone away. He's kind of is what he is at this point.
Is Marquise Lee, is he finally healthy?
Marquise Lee, I think he forgot about himself.
Oh, well, that's good.
They should have traded him before he got hurt. He had injury concerns coming out of college when he was at USC. That's why he fell in the draft. And we know a lot of the USC receivers don't really pan out. You know, Philadelphia knows. Have problems with these things.
Oh, yeah, that guy. They couldn't catch a baby. That's cool.
Yeah, Aguilar.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm leaning towards an explosive guy. I've read some things that there's been several ties to several receivers, but let's try to go get you a gambling-type playmaker, and we'll take Brandon Ayuk off the board.
Good pick. Yeah, so this guy is kind of interesting. So he played 2 or 3 years at JUCO, right? The community college level, or he was smaller school. He only had the one actual year as a starter at Arizona State, right?
I do believe so. He reminds me of, you remember Brandon Lloyd where he has that concentration issue on a simple pass, but then he'll make the most ridiculous, absurd, body contorting catch, and you're like, how did he catch that? But drop the one that hit him in the hands on a 5-yard slant. He just has a little bit of concentration issues. If he can clean that up, I think he could really help out a team. He's definitely got the mass. He's kind of a good run after catch, almost like a Bolden-ish kind of thing going on for him. I think that it'll be a good compliment to Chark. You guys have anything to add?
No, he was on my board. Colts are up in a couple picks. I think that he's been mocked everywhere. I've seen that guy mocked in the first round, and I've seen him fall. I mean, everybody's big board, like on the one I'm looking at right here on my sheet, he's the 5th rated receiver. I was reading something the other day. I mean, he was like the 12th receiver on their board. So
yeah, I mean, that's him and the one other receiver that's out there, and I'm sure you know the name. I don't want to say it in case anybody's looking at him.
Right.
But they've been anywhere and everywhere. They've been 1st to 4th and everything in between. Yep. It's just, like I said, it's a lot of personal – there's a lot of talent out here. I mean, I had to find something to complement. I think Chark is going to be their number 1, so you're looking for a number 2 that can kind of play. There's a philosophy with receivers is you need 3 receivers. One's a deep threat, one's a possession underneath, and your slot guy. So I think that he could be the possession underneath because he can create after the catch. So I think it complements, Chark, and it can only help Gardner Minshew because everything I read says rolling with Minshew. So at least giving him a chance. Tony Romo light.
All right. So with that, the Chicago Bears are on the board. So Tim, take it away.
It's funny that both my teams that didn't have a first-round pick in Houston and Chicago, I feel like are trending in the wrong direction.
Yep.
So Chicago, just to touch on briefly, we talked about not too long ago, they got rid of Trey Burton today. They swapped Chase Daniel out for Nick Foles to compete with Trubisky. They brought in Jimmy Graham, which many people thought was kind of an overpay for his age. He got 2 years, 16. And they brought in Jermaine Ifedi to play guard. And defensively, they swapped out Leonard Floyd for Robert Quinn. Paid a 29-year-old pass rusher $14 million a season, give or take.
When they had no cap space.
Right, and then brought in Artie Burns at corner to who was formerly of the Pittsburgh Steelers, who was looked at as a first-round disappointment. So Chicago, a couple of years ago, we talked about once they traded for Khalil Mack, just looked like they were just off and running and ready to, light the world on fire. But now, looking at their quarterback play and their defense wasn't as good last season, they're kind of in an interesting position. So I'm kind of torn on where to go in this direction. I have needs of secondary, a little bit of D-line possibly, and offensive line on the interior. I know I want to say it was this offseason that Kyle Long retired, if not the year before, but I think it was this offseason.
I think he missed time because he was hurt and he officially retired.
That's a guy who's a former Pro Bowler who definitely hurts by not having him. So
break my heart, do it.
Well, I'm torn between interior and looking at the guard, and then possibly looking at maybe a tackle. So that being said, I'm going to take a player who I really, really like his game, and I think he projects to have extremely high upside.
Uh-oh.
And that's going to be Lloyd Cushenberry III.
Yep, just did it.
So he did play center for LSU. Above average athleticism, good toughness, but he'll strike in the run game, and he does a great job on combo blocks, which if I remember correctly, they do play a lot of zone, and that really, really works well in harmony with Cody Whitehair playing center and James Daniels. Now, Cushenberry played center, but I definitely believe he projects as more of a guard at the next level.
I think so too.
He needs to be a little bit more consistent, have a little bit better pad level, but just his skill set is suited for guard. So I think he's an immediate upgrade over Rashawn Coward, who I think they got as a undrafted free agent maybe 2 seasons ago. Now maybe they can do that and then play Jermaine Ifedi, who they signed at tackle to kind of upgrade over Bobby Massey, or they flip him with Cody Whitehair. But I think getting it right up front for this team is something that's very important, just because you don't know what they're going to do at quarterback, whether they're going to go with Trubisky or Foles, and making that, in order to make that decision on who you're going to go with, I think putting protection in front of them first and foremost is going to let you determine what each guy can do and what skill set is going to be better for your team in the long run. Or if you need to go back out and draft a quarterback, if you do say, you know what, we swung and missed on both, and then either next year or the year after we're going quarterback, well, you have everything ready-made with a pretty young offensive line. Who you have Cody Whitehair, who was taken in the 16 draft. James Daniels, the second-round pick at guard 2 years ago. And then you have your running back in Tariq Cohen and David Montgomery. And the receivers, we look how deep this class is, and there's still a lot of free agents. So, yeah, I thought about receiver right here with maybe, well, I won't say any names, I guess, either, because I don't want to give it away. But receivers are deep, and there was quite a few available to put across from Allen Robinson.
It's still Anthony Miller.
Right, they still have Anthony Miller, so, you know, and the defense is serviceable. It's actually more than serviceable in the front seven to not have to rely too heavily on the secondary. And they also brought in Buster Screen, I'm pretty sure. So, yeah, let's get it done up front. In that division, as Chicago's always been, you know, a blue-collar kind of, you know, bring your lunch pail to work. Let's let them run it going against the teams in the NFC North.
Yeah, I love this pick. I think Tariq and Montgomery are going to love having him there.
The fantasy pop.
No, but I think Montgomery just did not look good last year, and part of it was he just didn't have a lot of space to run in. And this dude helped make Clyde Edwards-Helaire, who can catch the ball and run the ball, look awesome. So I think this is going to be – that's a great pick. That's a huge need for the Bears. And I think he'll be a starter day one. And they're looking good.
Yeah, I think so. He's got good agility and natural power, and it's pretty much going to help with the rolling pockets for Mitch Trubisky. So I like it.
All right. Let's keep it going. So the Colts are on the board. The Colts would like to call the Miami Dolphins at this time.
Ring, let me sell it.
All right, Miami. I'd like to offer you I'd like to offer you a 5th round pick for Rosen.
A 5th round pick for Josh Rosen.
Mm-hmm. Or we can do one the following year, and we can make it conditional then, and where it could be a 5th, and if he plays or whatever, it could become a 4th. Whatever you want to do, but you know. We think that he would fit better with us than you guys and give you a little draft capital this year.
Wow. I think at this point in time, we're going to
regretfully decline. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah. Just because of what is still left out there, I think there are quarterbacks that can help Miami this year. Obviously, we haven't taken one yet and missed on maybe the big 3, so that's going to change how we look at things. But if we make it a conditional 4th, I'm going to go ahead and accept your offer.
Hey!
So it'd be next year then, obviously,
yeah.
right? So,
okay.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I'll do that. So we'll do that trade. So Colts now get their quarterback.
And that means what's name's falling even more.
Yep. I'm not in love with love, and I have watched some tape on Josh Rosen, and I feel like if anybody can save him, it's going to be Indianapolis. So just taking a chance on him. Former top 10 pick. It's crazy that this guy has gone from that to being traded for a conditional 4th, basically.
Yeah, 2nd or 4th, 2 years
Go ahead,
in a row.
Do you guys remember after the draft, he said all the teams were going to regret not drafting him?
Yep.
Yeah,
I liked that confidence when I heard it. I was like,
he
maybe
meant
this guy is
forget.
going to be.
He meant to say forget, not regret.
I mean, the guys had probably the worst 2 years that you can have in your career.
Going two of the worst two offensive linemen that you could or lines that you could possibly go to. Too. He was never put in a position to succeed.
That's true.
Yeah, and I mean, I love this as a buy low. I actually, if things were different, I had actually proposed another trade to Steve, but obviously the Patriots took Justin Herbert. But if they didn't, it was Jacoby Brissett for Mohamed Sanu. So then we'd have an opening for that backup quarterback position, and it would be for Rosen. So, all right. So with all that being said, I'm going to go ahead as the Colts. There's a couple of guys. This makes it really easy. It was we were looking at safety, but the safety we wanted is gone from LSU.
Oh, I know who you're taking.
We're actually looking at offensive line as well, and decided against that. So with that being said, we are going to go with T. Higgins, wide receiver from Clemson. We need a big body receiver. We took Paris Campbell last year. He's more of a slot guy. T.Y. is on the outside as the field stretcher, and we love the potential T. Higgins offers here, and he's the highest guy rated out of the positions that of need. So I'll throw it over to the fantasy guru, PJ. How do you like the T. Higgins pick?
Yeah, well, he should not be there. I think he should have been. I don't think he'll last this long in the real draft. Well, what are we talking about? This is the real draft. But I'm trying to think. So how does he differentiate from T.Y. Hilton or even Paris Campbell?
Well, size alone. I mean, size is the biggest thing. I guess I'll let Tim, since I'm sure he knows.
6'4", 215.
Yeah.
Whoa.
Yeah, he's big.
Oh, he's
6'4",
fast for a
220.
6'4" dude.
Yeah, he's a big time playmaker. Go ahead.
I assumed he was a little guy because of his 40 time. So that's pretty awesome. Had a really good career too at Florida. At Clemson. Sorry.
Yeah, he's kind of in that same mold where we talked about the. Oh, it's eluding me. I know we talked about Mims and we talked about the receiver for Seattle, who's
DK.
Thank you, DK Metcalf. But kind of that athleticism, good speed, and deep tracking on the 9 routes.
Mm-hmm.
So, and he'll use his body, can create separation at the top of the route, good and contested catches. And I think it's a good compliment to the other side of T.Y., even though T.Y. can do the same thing and take the top off, but he is a better route runner.
Yep.
He's going to need to get stronger, too.
So he definitely doesn't have the full route tree at his disposal yet. But red zone ability, he could play the X, and I mean, he might be able to play anywhere on the field, but in that slant or fade situation at the goal line, he's going to be really solid for them, and it's a need for sure. Fills a gaping hole.
There's another wide receiver I really like, just in general, maybe even a little bit better, but he's just too small. So for us, with our team makeup, we had to take T. Higgins. So I'm pretty happy with that.
So you think he'll be what Devin Funchess was supposed to be last year before the injury?
Hey, Devin Funchess was great for that 2.5
That one
quarters.
game, yeah.
He looked great. I'm happy for him. Go ahead.
Well, no, just basically your offense is built like I was talking about. Now you have your possession receiver that can get the underneath into mediocre routes. You have your deep threat in T.Y. Hilton, and Paris Campbell's probably going to be running the slot now, which will only be better for his game. He was pushed outside and he couldn't do it, and also injuries kind of. So you'll be getting him back. I mean, what'd you get out of him? 4 games last year?
Yeah, and he did not look like it was not. He was misused. If you watch him at Ohio State, everything he did was underneath. And
he's the hybrid receiver, though. It's hard to. It's scary and hard at the same time because you could become Percy Harvin, or you could be Cordell Patterson.
Exactly.
But those are those hybrid receivers that are, or Golden Tate even, if you want to throw that in there as a good one. They're all that running back type receiver and they need to refine and polish up the receiver part of the game, but ball in their hand, they're absurdly Actually, they're just ridiculous with the ball in their hand. So these are the guys you may have to generate touches for. And there's another one in this draft that's coming up, a name you'll probably hear in a little while, that's the same way. You have to generate those touches because they can't run the precision and crisp routes that they need to yet. So hopefully you have a good receiver coach and you put him to work.
Right. All right. Well, we spent a little bit too much time on my team. I apologize.
Shocking.
Let's keep it going. Yeah, my bad. The Buccaneers are up, so Tim, take over.
So Tampa Bay, in the first round, we addressed the tackle position, trying to protect Tom, make sure he stays upright. It's hard for me to talk about Tom Brady being a Dolphins fan. But so looking at their team, you want to give the guy weapons, and it comes down to two positions for me. It comes down to, do I want to get that third receiver, or do I want to get that maybe even possibly number one running back? And being this late in his career, Tom Brady's game is kind of predicated on the running game. You want to be able to set up play action and whatever they decide to do. And they have the tight ends to where they can run two tight end and two receiver personnel and not have to put that third one on the field right away. So to me, this is kind of an easy one. I'm going to go ahead and take J.K. Dobbins, running back, Ohio State.
Knew that was coming.
So yeah,
it didn't make sense for him to be there.
It's just a little much of a need fits.
Well, they're in their window
value.
too, so I think even if it was a little bit of a reach, you're missing two things: a right tackle and a running back.
And we got the tackle in
And
the
you got
first,
the tackle.
and then we got the running back. Now their third receiver isn't anything to be stoked about, but at the same time, deep receiver class, I feel like we might be able to get one a little later on, and be perfectly sufficient. So just to touch on Dobbins, he's probably my favorite running back in the draft.
I think he's a 3-down back.
He can do inside, outside. He's very, very smooth feet. He's like a jitterbug with his dynamic ability to cut. He can move laterally. He can kind of run over you. He's got great balance. Pass protection is good. Elusiveness. He can catch the ball. It's just going to bring everything. So, man, he's definitely my favorite in the class. Depending on what kind of scheme they run and how they're going to deploy him, but it's just a perfect match.
Yeah. Do you think that this means Ronald Jones Jr. just goes right to the bench, or do you think they'll kind of use both of them?
Well, it's interesting
Change
because if
the
you
pace,
remember
cut
last year, Ronald Jones projected starter, and then Peyton Barber started off the season leading that backfield, and then there was a stretch there where Ronald Jones had 2 or 3 huge games, and we're like, oh, maybe this is his chance to turn the corner and just take this job. And he didn't quite do that, and it became more of a committee again. So despite the fact that they spent a second-round pick in 2018 on Ronald Jones, he just hasn't really taken advantage of the opportunity with not too much talent behind him. And Peyton Barber's gone to the Redskins at this point, so it's really wide open. But I'm not going to rely on someone who hasn't been shown that productivity or that
Going into year 3, can barely get on the field. Shown glimpses of it. Yeah, it's a nice, like I said, cop back, change of pace, but
I mean, maybe this is the thing that lights a fire under him that says, oh, man, I better get it together. We just drafted a second-round, kid to play running back. But I think Dobbins' potential is just sky high.
he's definitely a 3-down back, and I know PJ loves it for fantasy value. This is probably a guy you'd be looking at. With Tom Brady there, they're going to implement a little of their run style, and I think that's a great landing spot. It's an excellent pick. He's got great vision in the open field. He's built for the pro game. I think he's my number 1 running back as well.
And then looking at the 3 running backs that have been taken so far, I do agree that Swift has the most fantasy potential at this point, but this kid's right behind him.
Clear path to it, right?
Yeah, I mean, I don't think Ronald Jones is going to be the kid and go, oh, man, I don't want to draft him. He's got Ronald Jones in front of him. I would say
no, it was going to be him or Hilaire. They were going to take
sign
one.
me up. So that's it for me.
Like it.
All right.
Moving on.
Yeah, PJ, Denver Broncos.
Welcome
take
back, PJ.
Yeah, The one thing that's interesting is the Broncos could use like a backup quarterback, an insurance in case Locke isn't what everyone thought he would. But I think right now they need a cornerback. They lost a cornerback. And I think they did get like depth corners. But I really like the kid from Mississippi State, Cam Dantzler. He's a physical corner too. He's big, very athletic. So that's who the Broncos are going to take with this pick. I'm glad he's still on the board.
Yeah, he's got good size. He's a field corner. It's a good number 2, right? In Denver. Tim, you got anything you want to add? I know you're usually pretty high on your corners.
I was kind of. What was it? Say the pick one more time. Sorry.
Cam Dantzler.
From Mississippi State.
I read about him earlier today. He's got good size. Isn't he like 6 foot, 200 or 190?
6'3". He's 6'3".
Yeah, 6'3", 190.
190.
Yeah, he says he's a long-rangey corner. I think that's going to be a great compliment to Bouye on the other side. I think it's a pretty solid pick. You know, you don't have too many glaring holes. You might be in position to compete this year. So,
and you're in the same division as the Kansas City Chiefs, man. So if you don't address corner, you got to make that a priority.
Yeah, I have them. It's interesting because they picked up AJ Bouye, who had a couple down seasons in Jacksonville. I think they got him for I can't remember if it was a 4th round or I don't want to say 5th round, which I thought was really low, but maybe it was the 4th.
But he played terrible last year too.
Right.
He
so
got
they were able to
exposed.
get him, but he's still 28, 29. He's got a couple good years left, but this is all about athleticism in Dantzler. He'll play the run, but he definitely excels in the pass game. Has pretty fluid hips and some good ball skills. Doesn't really panic when the ball's in the air, but
bit thin-framed, huh?
Yeah, with his length, you'd think he'd be a little bit
bulky,
better with press when he's like press and bail. So he doesn't have as great a play strength as you would like for someone his size. He might get overwhelmed by bigger and stronger receivers, which it's tough because if you look at that division, you have to go against Keenan Allen, Mike Williams, who are both 6'3", 6'4", and then Kansas City with Sammy Watkins.
But he'll be getting the 2. Bouye will be getting the 1. So.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Who's the number 1 in KC? Tyreek Hill, I would assume. So
yeah,
Sammy
he
Watkins.
don't have the speed to match with him.
If you take away Keenan Allen, he's got Mike Williams over there, and then even in Oakland, it's Tyrell Williams is the number 2 now. But no, I definitely think they needed a corner. I understand the logic behind the pick. For the board, I might have had him going a little bit later, but at this point, it's pick your poison. You know the position need, so there's not on one board I had him going in the 3rd or 4th, and on another board I had him as a late 2nd. And we're on the 46th pick, so it's not out of the range too far.
Yeah, reminds me, I better update this too.
But it definitely fills a need for Denver, for sure. They don't have anybody, maybe, I don't know how comfortable you are in Bryce Callahan as your number 2 corner. So
Bryce Callahan belongs in the slot. He belongs in the league, and he's a pretty solid slot corner. But so picking up a corner, you actually answered 2 places. It's a pretty solid pick.
And they have a good defense, a defensive head coach. We already know about Von Miller. We know about Bradley Chubb. They picked up, like Steve said the other day, they got Jarrell Casey from Tennessee on the cheap. And Justin Simmons is one of the premier young free safeties in the game. He's actually maybe 20, 30 minutes away from here. He went to Martin County High School. So, unless I'm messing that up, and he went to South Fork, but 90% Martin County. So, anyway, Justin Simmons.
Yeah, I think so.
So, yeah, it definitely helps the defense, something that they need, and I like the need right there. So it fills a need for sure.
All right, let's keep it moving. I got back-to-back picks, so the Atlanta Falcons are on the board.
That's why you want to keep it moving. No problem. It's your world. We're just living in it.
I'm looking at the time like, oh boy.
I'm kidding, man. Keep it rolling, man.
All right, so I already got my 2 picks down. So with the Atlanta Falcons, we addressed
do it?
cornerback in the first round. What?
I had a feeling you were gonna do something wild. Let me know.
Jordan Love? No, I'm just kidding.
I've
I'm
seen a couple
kidding.
mocks where they lands there.
No, it's there. We need linebacker help, but I feel like we'd be reaching for anybody here. So I'm actually taking the best guy along the defensive line still available, and that's Marlon Davidson. Uh,
I like it. Love it.
yeah, so he falls here. I mean, I've seen him go in the first round in some mocks. So I just to
Marlon
reach at a
Davis.
linebacker or to take, the best defensive lineman available, I'd rather just do that. Although we do need help, like I said, on the linebacker. But if anybody else has anything on that.
Yeah, he was uber productive in college. I think he blocked 3 kicks or something like that. And I want to say it was in back-to-back-to-back games. Guy's got a quick pop off the ball. He plays some base 4-3 defensive end, so he's obviously athletic enough. But if it's a 4-3 defense, kicking him inside, you could get a poor man's Aaron Donald going on.
That'd be pretty nice.
Yeah, obviously, Aaron Donald is a once-in-a-lifetime type player, but he's got that kind of burst and strength.
Mm-hmm. All right, Tim, you got anything on that, or you want to go on?
No, I think it's a good pick. He has a lot of good qualities. Upper body strength is one thing that I have on him. Good at the point of attack, and it just depends on an Atlanta scheme. They're still running a 4-3, so I know he does. When he's in the dirt as an interior rusher, like a 4 technique, he gets a little like loose in his stance, so he can lean a little bit. But you can also put him at the edge, and he does really well. I think it's someone you might be able to.
Good for a hybrid defense.
Yeah, to move up and down the line. Yeah, I don't know if he does fit better in a 3-4 than a 4-3 because he doesn't have as much bend. But yeah, no, for potential and upside, he's definitely good. He just doesn't have that one. He's not the best mental. Giant. He doesn't process things extremely well, and then he doesn't have that super special motor. Yeah,
right. He relies too much on his athleticism.
Exactly.
But he's got like I said, tremendous first step. So they use him as basically a big end, but I think he could kick inside, like I was saying earlier.
All right. With that, the New York Jets are up. Definitely need O-line help, but I'm not going to go there right now. I'm actually going to take a linebacker because he fits the scheme. Takeem Davis Gaither from Appalachian State. Or Appalachian? Pronunciations, whatever. The guy was pretty productive in college. Had, over 100 tackles in each of the last 2 years. This past season, he had 14 and a half tackles for loss. He had 9 pass defenses. The guy seems like he's going to be pretty productive. I don't have a 40 time for him, so I don't know how quick he is in case that question comes from anybody. But
don't ask.
I feel like it's a decent fit. So if anybody has more on this smaller school guy, you could throw that in there.
Appalachian State, Boone, North Carolina. Undersized linebacker, but very physical against the run. Maybe an outside linebacker in a 3-4 for the Jets. But decent coverage on running backs and tight ends, good range. And yeah, so if it was a 4-3, I'd put him at the will. But in a 3-4, he could probably play outside. But he needs to put on weight. He has the frame that can maybe add maybe 15, 20 pounds because he is physical and aggressive. But sometimes he overruns plays because he's a little too aggressive. So he'll use his athleticism a little too much, but he just doesn't have that much experience.
Yeah, but I mean, where the Jets are at right now.
Yeah, they got the length and speed, and like you said, you did it back to back. You took a production guy. There's nothing wrong with it.
Yeah. All right, let's keep it moving. Tim, you have back-to-back picks as well, my friend. Steelers and Bears are back-to-back.
So Pittsburgh, after trading, this is the first time we touched on Pittsburgh after they traded the first round pick with us last year for Minka Fitzpatrick, would definitely worked in their favor. He played extremely well. I want to say 6 or 7 interceptions, and played at a Pro Bowl level for them. So to get a player like that for what turned out to be the 18th overall pick was definitely great value in my opinion. Pittsburgh in the offseason didn't do much, partly because cap space. Offensively, they picked up Eric Ebron and Steven Wisniewski to kind of help out on the offensive side of things. And then defensively, all I really had them as adding is Chris Wormsley, a defensive tackle. Their biggest loss by far was Javon Hargrave, who went to Philly. So what I have for needs for Pittsburgh, after losing Hargrave, the defensive tackle could be addressed. The offensive line is still in pretty good shape. They still have DeCastro, Pouncey, and Villanueva, and they just picked up Wisniewski. So they're in I would say above average shape on offensive line. But just looking at the way they draft, they usually don't do pretty well in the later rounds. So originally, if he was here, and I've seen him mocked here many times, I was looking at Jalen Hurts. But the fact that he's still there, I'm going to go ahead and finally just get this guy off the board. And we're going to take Jordan Love, quarterback, Utah State, to be the eventual successor for Big Ben. I mean, Big Ben's getting up there in age. I know we just saw he's 38 years old, and we saw who was in the same draft class, and Rivers is still, kind of going strong, signed a 1-year deal with the Colts. So, but Big Ben was out all of last year, and they need to start thinking about someone to take over for him.
Yeah, the heir apparent, because they did not have it on the roster last year.
Right. We saw a little bit out of Mason Rudolph. We saw Devlin Hodges. Yeah, and I want to say they even have like Paxton Lynch and JT Barrett going into training camp. So there's no one that really stands out. So why not take a shot?
I bet you they wish they wouldn't have traded Dobbs last year.
Yeah.
As bad as it was for them. I mean, the two starters they had, Devlin Hodges and Rudolph, got benched for each other at different times in the year. So that's how you know that was a playoff team outside of quarterback play. Remember, because we had on the pod, we talked several times about, just go get Andy Dalton.
Mm-hmm.
You have to make the playoffs this year, and especially when they traded for Minka, which we were kind of against, and it looked like it worked out all right for them. But you're still giving up a first, and you have holes and cap issues.
So Jordan Love, just real quick, just to touch on it, he's definitely the 4th ranked quarterback, if not the 3rd, according to some analysts, quarterback in this draft. So he has all the size, athleticism, and mobility. Some people say he's a poor man's Mahomes. I don't know. Mm-hmm. His field vision and awareness is just pretty poor. He makes really, really interesting decisions. I've seen him compared to Kaepernick. So
it's the same area too, right?
Yeah, if you could take time and maybe develop them, and Pittsburgh is a traditionally strong organization, I don't see why he couldn't be successful in a couple of years. Let him sit and then see what happens.
It's funny, before we started this, who would have thought that Miami and Indianapolis would be passing on Jordan Love? I feel like those are the two places he's really mocked to a ton, besides the Patriots at 23 for some reason. I don't really see that, but
it's because he's the only one that they find most likely to fall.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody's fine. We're all flying blind with this because, like I said, there's no pro days, there's no meetings, there's no leaks of stories because, they have ties to, they talked to Jordan Love today, the interview went well. We're not getting any of that. So it's kind of like the scouts who you never see have the most power now.
Yep.
They finally had the bigger voice in the room than the owner and the GM. Hey, listen, you got to listen to me here. scout this guy for 3 years. This is our guy.
And I mean, Miami could definitely end up taking him. I know they brought him in for a visit right before the NFL shut down everything, but I don't know. I just didn't feel like taking him in the first round, so it wasn't worth it.
Yeah. All right, let's keep it moving. Tim, you're up with the Chicago Bears.
So, looking at the Bears' needs at this point, we just took the interior offensive line. We're going to go, I believe, to defense at this point. And one of the needs I have for Chicago, I mean, they kind of have needs at both corner and safety. Well, depends on who you ask, but I'm gonna go ahead and upgrade the secondary. I'm not sold on Artie Burns, and I'm usually pretty good with names, but you're gonna have to forgive me with this one. It's a mouthful. Noah.
Oh, yeah.
Igbenegin.
Igbanag Ahani.
Hold on, I could find it phonetically.
I'm gonna.
It's
I'm gonna either go-
Igbanag Ahani.
I'm gonna say Igbenogin or Igbenogin.
I have the phonetic spelling right here. It's
You look like phonetics.
Igbanag Ahani.
Say it fast.
Are you using the athletic?
Igbanagani.
Igbenogany. So I'm gonna take Noah Igbenogany.
How you feel now? Trying to put me on the spot.
Cornerback from
Igbanagani.
Auburn.
Igbanagani.
So
You down with Igbanagani?
he's a little bit. He's a little bit shorter, 5'11", and he doesn't have great transitional quickness. So he's gonna have to win at the line of scrimmage. And he's played man and off man. He I think he's better in zone, which helps him. But he's not shy to get up in your face. Not great reactionary quickness, but we're talking about, late round 2, mid round 2. So he'll come up and tackle. Good, like bigger, bulkier build, 5'11", good, good density, short area explosiveness. So I like him maybe in a cover 2, cover 3 zone. He's a little raw and man, but someone you can take at this point and, you can let him develop. So
Right. He
Put him
ran a lot of man-heavy scheme in college.
yeah, he's got.
He's a fighter.
Right, so I like him in a more of a cover 2, cover 3, and he's got a very high ceiling. So
Right. They say basically they're saying he's more of a trait-based prospect who is a better athlete than refined cover man. Is the quote I'm reading right here. But his pro-level foot speed and super competitive nature are qualities NFL coaches will want. Yeah, I would take him.
So definitely hit or miss, but I mean, we have Kyle Fuller, Eddie Jackson. Chicago can't seem to figure out who they're going to play at safety. I know they have Deion Bush, but they signed to Clinton Dix to a 1-year deal, and then he left and went to Dallas, I want to say.
I almost took him, I took AJ Terrell for Detroit.
I was thinking you were going to take him, but then you didn't want to pronounce his name, so you kind of let
No, I
me
knew.
struggle with it. So
AJ Terrell was higher on the draft board. I just felt, yeah.
But anyone else have any thoughts? If not, keep rolling.
No, let's we got to keep rolling. So, all right, the Cowboys are up. Secondary is a position of need for us, and unless I miss this, we're going to take safety Jeremy Chin from Southern Illinois. He's still on the board, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, sorry, Tim. I see that. Yeah, so great size on this kid. He's 6'3", 220 pounds. He ran a 4.45 40, so he's quick too. He's a little bit raw, but I mean, at this point, I would rather take one of the better safeties in the class, in my opinion, than reaching for a cornerback, because the rest of the corners at this point are like they could play, but it's nothing special. So. Tim, I saw that reaction. So, what you thinking?
I'm thinking, why did you take my guy?
Sorry.
So you took Jeremy Chin.
Yep.
I mean, plays a run, shoots his
Very
guns.
athletic.
He can tackle, super athletic. He actually had better combine numbers than Isaiah Simmons, who I took 5th overall. He had a better vert and broad jump than Isaiah Simmons. So
6'3",
he
220.
completely blew away the combine. He might not necessarily hold up in man coverage, but he's much better just playing that backside and zone. And I think he's athletic enough to play either safety position. The question I have, which is very interesting, we are on Dallas, right?
Yep.
So you took a safety in Dallas when they already have Xavier Woods and Darian Thompson locked in, and then they went ahead and took Clinton Dix in the offseason. So they really have 3 starting caliber safeties. And I'm just curious as to the thought process to bring in possibly a 4th safety. Do you feel like he's going to – because Clinton Dix played at a very high level, and Xavier Woods isn't a slouch at all, in my opinion. So
Haha's signed a 1-year deal. So
he
for
did.
us,
It's oh, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt. I'm just saying and we've seen him go from Green Bay to Washington to Chicago, and
They're
I feel like
devaluing
they're
position.
devaluing the safety position. So I feel like he's outplayed his contract. But they also had Darian Thompson start for them last year and did very well.
He's been
So
bouncing
I mean,
around the league too.
I'm not questioning your pick. I'm just curious as to see the rationale. So I'll give my fault. Go ahead and give me a little background.
It's all good. I mean, for me, these secondary prospects are kind of tough for me, to be honest, because it's just something I wasn't really looking at. Looking at the Cowboys, I mean, I'm looking at their team. Obviously, corner is a position of need, but I'm looking, Haha's on a 1-year deal. Thompson, he's solid, but I feel like, and like you said, this guy might be a little bit development, like – we might be able to move him around, and he is a special player. You just said, like, physically, he has better numbers than Isaiah Simmons. So hoping we can move him around on the field, and we just need playmakers at this point. So that's kind of the rationale. Other than that, I got nothing for you. I know you wanted him, but
no, I was just curious as to the landing spot. I had a feeling he was going to go because Miami was taking him in a New York minute. But anyway. No, yeah. Good, very, very high ceiling for this kid. He, like I said, blew away the combine, great potential. I'm not sure I'm thrilled with the fit in Dallas just because they could have used a corner. I mean, they have Anthony Brown, Chidobe Awuzie, and I don't know Jordan Lewis at the nickel. So, but hey,
you're not wrong. But yeah, it's not the perfect pick.
This will be my last episode for questioning the host.
Well, then Steve and I would have been gone a long time.
You shut your mouth when you're talking to me.
Yeah. All right. Here, I'm just going to mute Tim right now. I'm just kidding.
It's like around the
horn. All right, Steve, you're up. You have back-to-back picks, first with the Rams and then with your Eagles. So let's knock them out.
All right, well, like I said before, the Rams are actually negative $5 million in cap space, and they're going to be asking that beautiful quarterback they just paid a chunk of money who ran off to the bathroom and never came back to kick some money around. But we also are in a team in flux. We would like to trade back if anyone is interested. Is there any prospects anybody wants to move up for? No, okay, great.
Yeah, Miami here.
Oh, okay. What we got, Miami?
To move up 5 spots in the second round, we'll give you pick 56. And the Rams?
Yeah.
You can't take on Albert Wilson's contract, obviously.
No. You want to move up? We need draft picks.
We'll give you a 5th round this year.
5th is what I was thinking in my head. Sold.
Okay. That's easy enough.
All right, Tim, you are now on the board.
Easy. I'll make it quick and painless. Miami Dolphins with the 52nd pick. Take Isaiah Wilson, tackle from Georgia.
I can't believe he's there. I just don't have a need for tackle. I mean, unless he can play left.
All right. If you want to give a little bit on him while I'm switching this around on my board here.
Yeah, just a little brief summary.
Mountain of a man. I know that.
Yeah, so for Miami, we were able to address tackle earlier in the draft with Josh Jones, and now we take Isaiah Wilson. So massive, massive, massive. 6'7", 340.
It's just a mountain
It
of a
might be
man.
350, but it's not bad weight. So he's just a guy that takes you 2 seconds just to get around him.
You just got to stand there.
So he can generate push in the run game. He has range. He just has a little bit of inconsistent hand placement. Has to maybe get a little bit better hand placement, timing, but he's got huge 35.5-inch arms. But he's all about length and power. He just needs to work on his technique. So he started 2 seasons at Georgia and has size, mobility, and power. So that's an easy one for us, just to give up one of our 3 fifth-round picks to move up a couple spots.
And we're so hard against the cap, we almost have to take it.
Yeah,
so.
and it gives us now, so you're looking at Miami, we kind of have, our offensive line looks a lot better. Now you're talking about Josh Jones, Brandon Flowers at left guard, Karras at center. We'll kick Jesse Davis into right guard, and we have Isaiah Wilson at tackle. So able to get 2 tackles in the first 2 rounds. I'll be stoked if that happens.
And the Rams, we're going to be in a situation where we're going to start reaching soon because we're so desperate on the inside. But we also have a contract for Ashawn Robinson, who we can't even do it yet because we don't have the cap space. We agreed in principle. Just wait. We're going to have the money in a couple months. Checks in the mail.
And maybe we could have waited because if you look at the teams that are coming up, Philly doesn't really have a need for tackle, nor Buffalo, and I think Baltimore's pretty set as well. But to only give up 5th rounds to ensure someone else doesn't jump, because like Steve said, he probably shouldn't have been there.
I didn't think so. I seen him mocked first round of Seattle.
Yeah. So.
All right, let's keep it going. Steve, you're up with Philly.
I've seen this guy mocked to Philly in several different situations. What is going on here? We obviously need receiver because we went first round. We went linebacker, so we'll go ahead and just make it simple and quick. We'll take Rager in the second here.
Love that pick.
Yep, great pick.
Need fits value. I'll talk about Rieger real quick. He does a little bit of, great route tree. He can stop on a dime. He's just extremely shifty at the line of scrimmage. So he can just shut it down, pop around, great footwork and pace, which is something that they severely are lacking in Philly at this point. His hands are hit and miss, which kind of, I hate to say it, reminds you a little bit of Aguilar, but
Will Fuller.
you know, he's really at his best when he has to go high point the ball, which is interesting for a kid that's only 5'11". But I almost looked at him with the pick at Tampa. So you could just give it to him the quick game, have him run a screen. He could take it the distance, but he is awesome at getting behind the defense as a vertical receiver as well. So he's just super fast. This is like a track guy. Has good enough play strength and not necessarily a blocker, but you can put him in the slot, put him out wide, just let him do his thing. He had a little bit of trouble, like I said, with drops, but just dynamic is what I have under him. So he can go inside or outside, and it's just a no-brainer for Philly at this point.
Yep. I'll be able to play the
All right, let's keep it moving. PJ, you're finally back on the board with the Buffalo Bills.
All right. Let me see here. I have talk amongst yourselves.
All right, cool.
Looking at Buffalo, I mean, we know they made the big move of their offseason with Stephon Diggs. So with Diggs, John Brown, Cole Beasley, and they actually picked up the Diggs obviously is the move. They picked up Mario Addison on the defensive front. They're they were a playoff team last year, and they're kind of set at almost every position in my eyes.
That's why that trade was doable.
Right, and if you look at their offensive line, they got Mitch Morse last offseason to play center. They have Cody Ford at right tackle they took last year in the second round. They maybe can use an upgrade at guard, but their front seven is pretty solid. After they lost Shaq Lawson to Miami, but they plugged them in with Mario Addison. They took Ed Oliver in the first last year. They're just a team that seems to be on the rise in a division that's up for grabs now that New England finally seems to have lost their stranglehold when Tom Brady left. They brought in Josh Norman, and they have Tre'Davious White, who's an all-pro at corner. Between him and then Poyer and Micah Hyde, they have one of the best secondaries in football. And their defense.
Super athletic middle linebacker.
Yeah. The
Edmonds.
Tremaine Edmonds, I definitely wanted him from Miami, so he's great in the middle. The one thing is kind of interesting with Buffalo, even though their defense was so good last year, is the fact that they didn't generate a ton of sacks individually. I know Jordan Phillips, who left to Arizona, led their team in sacks last year with 9.5.
Yeah, he
So
was a Miami bus, correct?
yeah, second
Yeah.
round pick out of Oklahoma, I think. But
Oklahoma or Texas or one of those.
I think it was Oklahoma. But anyway, so
All right, I think I'll go with an interior lineman, the guy who was blocking for Jonathan Taylor, Tyler Biadasz. Is that a good pronunciation?
it's pretty
Yeah,
pretty
yeah.
close. So I could touch on him. I think it's someone. It's the range is pretty correct. I saw him going anywhere between 45 and
Oh, that's a
maybe
fourth.
huh?
I've seen him as far as the fourth
I
round.
haven't seen him later in the third yet. So he has been slipping. His stock is kind of devalued, but on a team that plays good defense and wants to run the football, I think Singletary kind of didn't have as great of a year. He kind of came on at the end, but this is a guy that'll plug in maybe to right guard from day one and be someone that makes that offensive line extremely solid in Buffalo. I'm not stoked on it just being a Dolphins fan that we have to face someone with that much talent, but no, a really solid pick.
We have. Do you think we've drafted more offensive linemen than will actually be drafted?
No,
seems
not
like
at all.
Really?
I think it's going to be more.
Okay.
I think we're right on par, to be honest. Everything I've read, position-wise and rank-wise, I think we're par for the course.
When we talked about it a couple weeks ago, I projected 6 tackles to go in the first round. I'd have to look back and see if we hit that number, but this is
We did.
it's a
6 tackles and 1 guard.
it's a very deep tackle draft. Interior linemen, it's not as much. I think there's more centers than guards available, but there's a lot of teams that just need it. It's something that some teams have neglected, and other teams think they could find value later in the draft. Miami hasn't been very good at finding that late value. We've done great.
Yeah, part of what threw
Going
me
back
is
to this kid, very
go ahead.
powerful at the point of attack. No, it's all right. Go ahead.
Somebody go.
I was gonna take Jalen with the pick that went right before me. Obviously, I know that you guys are big on John Brown and Cole Beasley, but I thought him being there that late would be a nice compliment.
Chris, why are you laughing?
Because I can't keep saying it. Like it is.
I know, but I had him a little bit higher than that. So I wanted to take him, and Steve got him before me, so I had to readjust what I was going to do with that pick. But especially since Tim made that analysis, I think it makes sense. I think it's also showing some faith in their running game and their young running back, who I think will definitely be a little uptick in fantasy value this year.
You can never have enough offensive linemen. This kid just improves it for Singletary, improves the team and the opportunity for Josh Allen and for Diggs. They are a team that does want to run the football and set up play action, and Josh Allen loves to scramble around and run the ball. So
Yes, that's true.
This is a kid that he was a leader on their team. I want to say he was a team captain, but it just depends on how well he can transition into their scheme. And I've seen him, like you said, just from this spot all the way down to Steve said the 4th. So he was a center strictly, but I think he could maybe slide to guard and be okay.
Hey, PJ, can you repeat that pick one more time for me?
Tyler Biadasz out of Wisconsin.
Gotcha. All right. Let's keep it going because it's getting long now. All right. On the board, the Ravens. So Steve, you're up.
Okay, this is we're gonna stand still here. We're gonna make a pick. We need to add some to our receiving core. I think this will complement what you already have in Hollywood Brown and give a nice red zone threat because you did get rid of a tight end. We're going to take Michael Pittman Jr. because of his high point ability and his he wins more with body control than he does with actual separation. He's got strong hands. He's a bigger receiver compared to 6'4", 220. So he is the opposite of what Hollywood Brown is. Where Hollywood wins with speed, you'll have now a guy that wins with body control and positioning. Good jump ball receiver. He just lacks the overall top speed.
Definitely something that Baltimore needed to complement that. They have a great tight end, and Mark Andrews really came onto the scene last year. And then Hollywood Brown, offensive line is fairly set, even though Marshall Yanda decided to call it a career. He's a future Hall of Famer in my eyes. And they upgraded the defense in the offseason. So I think it's going to be a good pick, and you want to give Lamar Jackson another weapon. With someone you put out there on the boundary, and not only is he going to be someone that can use his ability to catch the ball, but he's 6'4", 220. He's going to be an awesome blocker just because he's tough and physical.
All right, Steve, you got 2 more.
All right. Well, put him on the board, please. Yeah, I'm going to go ahead and
Back-to-back Rams?
Yeah, back-to-back Rams.
Back-to-back Rams. Unless somebody wants to jump up again. Like I said, we're trying to gain as many assets as we possible. I mean, if you want to throw money at us, we'll take that too. I'm not afraid to dance for these dollars.
Seattle here. We're gonna be a little
Pete,
uncharacteristic.
what's up, bud?
Yeah, a little uncharacteristic. We want to move up from number 59 to where you guys are at number 56. So, what do you say? We have number 144, which is a 5th rounder to move up 3 spots.
Yeah, we'll do it.
All right, cool. All right. You guys just accumulating assets now.
Yeah, well, we have no money. I mean, I'm hoping this is what they do, but who knows?
All right, with that, we have a player in mind. We are going to take Laviska Shenault from Colorado, wide receiver. We're pretty excited about what we think that he can do. He's well built. He's a freak athlete, and we like the 2 receivers we have in front of him, obviously, like Tyler Lockett and DK, but our team is ready to win now, and just adding another weapon that could kind of do everything is something we wanted to do. So anybody got anything on that? Tim, I see you.
On Shenault?
Yeah.
He's
Colorado kid.
Yeah, big-time athlete. He's more strong than fast. One of those guys, like I said before, you have to generate the touches for. He could be – the floor is like Cordero Patterson. The ceiling is Percy Harvin, Golden Tate-ish.
Well, who would like that better than Pete Carroll?
Yeah, I mean, he's going to chew the hell out of some gum and really get excited about this pick.
No, he's a big play waiting to happen. I mean – it's something that Seattle could use. Opposite Metcalf, you put Lockett in the slot. It definitely complements their offense, especially after you gave them a interior offensive lineman in the 1st round with Ruiz. So I think it's a good pick.
All right. So now, Steve, you were up once again. Will you be trading back again?
The trade is available, guys. Our whole team will be in the 5th round.
Seattle Seahawks here. I mean, we could do literally the same deal again. We have multiple 5ths, I believe. But no, go ahead, Steve.
So nobody's interested in trading back to that. I'm also.
Wait, what was pick 56?
Laviska Shenault Jr.
Oh, Laviska. All right.
Receiver out of Colorado.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Let me just check one thing. Obviously, we're going to be making this pick. We have glaring holes. We haven't made a pick yet in this draft, but like we said before, we're $5 million in the hole. We have a multitude of needs, and I don't think there's a linebacker worth picking this early, so we will wait on that position. I was just wondering between a couple guys. Was actually between two. Damn, I got the wrong team too. Look at that. Nobody wants this pick. Are you guys sure? It's your last chance. Well, I feel like I got to give you an extra pick to take it from me.
Indianapolis Colts here.
You serious?
Kinda.
All right. Well, what do you want to throw at me here?
All right. Let's. We'll give you our third rounder, which is number 75, and we'll give you a fifth rounder.
Dolphins here.
Dolphins. What's up?
We'll give you our third rounder, number 70, as well as a third rounder next year.
I'll take that.
Yeah, I got to take that. It's not easy being hard pressed against the cap. So I've gained 2 fifths and a third.
Perfect.
And a third rounder. Would you say next year as well?
Yes.
Okay, and a third. See, now I got some assets, guys. Let's go.
I'm like
Let's
running out of
go.
space right there.
So
All
am
right,
I.
go
You
ahead,
know.
Tim.
So
You're
with
gonna,
the
you gonna do it with me? You're gonna do it to me?
do it to you.
Yeah.
57th pick, the Miami Dolphins select Jalen Hurts, quarterback, Oklahoma.
Oh,
Wow.
did not see that coming.
Nope, didn't see that coming either. All right, explain.
If you look at the way we've gone through this draft, we've made 5 selections so far: 2 tackles, a running back, probably the best linebacker, if not defensive player in the draft, in Isaiah Simmons, and then an edge rusher in Gross Matos. So the one thing the Dolphins are lacking is quarterback, especially since I was able to trade away Mr. Josh Rosen to you for a conditional 4th, 5th round next year. So
Yep.
I feel like Hurts is someone that's played in a lot of big games, played at Alabama, played at Oklahoma. More of a general accuracy than precision passer. But I think in the right situation, he can be very, very, very effective. He's one of those new breed quarterbacks where he has mobility, which is something we haven't had in quite some time, and Rosen didn't provide that. So with him and our big receivers on the outside, DeAndre Swift in the backfield, he's someone that could, just take over and be that guy. You never know what you're going to get out of these quarterbacks. We've seen he's the 5th one to go, and we've seen 2 years ago where the 5th one was the best one. So his accuracy, it could temper his ceiling, but he could be the starting caliber player. So we'll take a shot in the 2nd round.
All right.
So Jalen Hurts was the pick?
Yep.
All right.
All right. Let's keep it moving. I'm on the board now with the Minnesota Vikings. In the first round, we took Patrick Queen and spacing on the second guy. I believe it was a offensive lineman. It was the tackle, my bad. Andrew Jackson from USC. With this, we need wide receiver. Was hoping a couple of better ones would fall at this point, but it is what it is. So it's really a choice between 2 guys, but we're going to go with Chase Claypool from Notre Dame. Big guy. Was the X receiver primary for them. And this past year, over 1,000 yards, 13 touchdowns. We like what he can be opposite of Thielen, and we don't miss Stephon Diggs. So thanks for that. Anything on that, guys?
Yeah, he's just an absolute freak of nature. I think he's only been playing football for 3 or 4 years, I want to say. He's from Canada. But he's 6'4", 238, and he ran a sub 4.5 40. And only him and Calvin Johnson have ever done that. He's just a little bit raw, but you have that that high end potential with that.
Yeah. So
He's got the size, doesn't create much separation, but it doesn't matter because he goes and gets it.
right. All right. Let's keep it moving then. Steve, you're on the board with the LA Rams again.
I am shocked to hear you say that. I will take Terrell Lewis, edge, Alabama.
Alabama, yeah.
It's just because he's less scheme dependent than another guy I wanted. He's got better size. He can play. I think he can play in a 3-4 or a 4-3. Because he did both in Alabama with his hand in the dirt and standing up. So I'll take him, and you can stop hearing from the Rams.
Perfect. Anything on that, or are we gonna do a lightning round here?
What was it? Terrell Lewis?
Yeah. Or is it Terrell?
First up, explosiveness. He wins with his length. He's got a great extension and wingspan. Alabama, it's one of those things where you like, is he a product of the system or is he really that solid? But they've had a lot of solid players coming out in the last few drafts in the front seven, whether it be linebacker or defensive line. So I think it's a solid pick. We worry about his durability a little bit. He had an elbow injury in 2017 and then an ACL in 2018. But he, like Steve said, it's the fact that he's not scheme dependent. You can kind of put him anywhere, and D coordinator is just going to, love to have this kid because you can do so much with him.
All right, Steve, you're on the board again. Ravens.
Isn't that special? All right, we took Zach Bond in the first, Michael Pittman in the second. Still addressing some needs. We could probably use an edge, maybe another running back. Ours is getting up there a little long in the tooth. We could go a whole lot of different ways here. I don't know what really fits our best need at the moment. I'm going to get him off the board. I'm going to go ahead and make a reach, I think.
As you reach in real life right now.
Yeah, I had to sell all of it. I took an edge in the first with them. I don't even know.
Baltimore, right?
Yeah.
There's always the threat of a pass-catching running back.
Yeah, if PJ on Baltimore, we know who'd be taken right now.
Well, they already have that in Justice Hill.
Yeah, fair enough.
And, Clyde Hilaire, Edwards Hilaire is pretty much the same type of player.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah, that's not the running back that would fit in their system. If there have been some mocks that have been talking about taking Taylor, kind of to ease him in, just like I did with Tennessee in our draft.
In the first?
Yeah, I guess so.
I mean, they could use some D-line help. I can't get this guy off the damn board. That's one thing about this website. It's great, but it's not. We'll take Raycon Davis out of Alabama. Little D-line help. He's they run 3-4 there, so I know he's fits the scheme we're working. So, lock it up.
Raekwon Davis.
Yeah, what you got on Timmy?
This kid's huge. 6'7", 310, power, length.
Put it next to Calais. Lock it up.
Yeah. He's so length and power, but this is his vision and pass rush. He's kind of declined in the last couple of years. So his expectation was higher than it really didn't take off. So his pass rushing skill set definitely needs work, but he has all the tools. He just hasn't really put it together. So maybe some coaching at the next level. But when you're at Alabama, you're a senior, and you don't have as much production as you would have liked. It calls into question what kind of went wrong. So it's interesting to see where he lands and how he's going to fit into that scheme.
I mean, I considered going edge again and maybe pushing Bond inside, but I want to see what he can do potentially on the outside as an edge rusher. So That was
All
my
right.
thought
Is
process.
Malik Harrison still on the board from Ohio State linebacker? Or did
Yeah.
Chris take him?
No, he's still out there.
That
I-
might
I
have
have-
been a decent one. He would have been more of just a thumper to put in the middle, where I know they kind of want a guy that
Right, but
does a little bit of.
I feel like he's
Little
in
bit,
the top 100. I just think he's
a little too high for that. Yeah, I don't
like
disagree
89th
with
or 90th in that range.
All right, we got 4 more picks. PJ, you got back-to-back ones right here.
Okay,
First,
both of my picks have to do with guys that just left their team. So Tennessee lost a good player off the defensive line that went to Denver, and Casey, 5-time Pro Bowler. So I'm going to go off the grid a little bit, and who I'm going to pick, I'm picking Darrell Taylor, the edge rusher from Tennessee, to come to Tennessee, to stay in Tennessee. He's kind of a jack of all trades. I think he can play interior and on the outside. I think he will be a worthy replacement. So,
say the name again.
Darrell Taylor.
Okay.
He's a little bit lower on the list, but I picked him partially because of the Tennessee connection.
Nice.
I'm actually looking because it is a little bit off my board. So
I was looking for someone a versatile player, not necessarily the best player at the position.
Oh, we can always keep one short here and there since we're getting up on 2 hours now. So
I might have to split it, but yeah, I'll give you just a quick. I mean, you touched on it a little bit. So athletic, and just very, very crazy bend. So he just doesn't. It's kind of one of those potential type picks where he might have a higher ceiling, but he might have a lower floor.
Lower
as well.
floor, exactly. Yeah.
So, but he he can transfer speed to power and decent discipline as a run defender, and he has like sufficient length and strength. But he just we're just waiting on that, kind of. I don't know if it's not necessarily the light to come on, but just needs to reach his potential. So,
What was that name again?
Darrell Taylor from Tennessee.
Got it.
all right, PJ, you got one more.
Okay, the Packers lost Blake Martinez, so I'm actually picking a player who has been comped to Blake Martinez, Evan Weaver out of California. Not the fastest guy in the world, but an incredible tackler.
All right, does anybody have any comps on him or anything?
Well,
I saw
just
the comp to Blake Martinez, and I said, "Well, that's who we're taking."
I think, it might be a little bit of a reach. Kind of average athlete at the linebacker. He's okay in the passing game. He might. It just depends. If he's only a 2-down linebacker, it's gonna be tough because he's not super athletic, but he is a try-hard guy. I don't know how limited he's going to be and able to cover receivers or to cover anyone in space. He's definitely going to have to play in zone because I don't think he's going to be able to handle man coverage. But he'll be good in the box. Green Bay still rolling with the 3-4. He could be okay as one of the run stuffing linebackers.
Hey Tim, just as a Miami Dolphins fan,
Sure.
Zach Thomas, what was he drafted? What round?
He was a 5th round
Fifth
pick.
runner, yeah.
And was it because of his athleticism?
I don't know if it was necessarily athleticism. It just could have been he was a smaller school. I want to say he's Texas Tech. But it's just one of those – it's just you never know with those later round guys.
Yeah.
Antonio Brown was a 6th round pick. Is one of the few players in NFL history to have, what did he have, 6 consecutive 1,000-yard seasons or something? So, yeah, Zach Thomas, in my opinion, should be in the Hall of Fame already. I mean, his stats are comparable with Urlacher, who went in 2 years ago. So, but no, I don't think it had anything to do with athleticism because he was plenty capable of in coverage. I'd have to look and see how many career interceptions he had. I know he had less. Urlacher might have doubled him in picks. He might have had 10 career interceptions, but he was more than capable in coverage. So that's
Yeah.
where I think Evan Weaver from Cal might struggle. I don't know if he wasn't asked to do it as much, but he'll be okay in zone drops, but just in man to man, I don't think he'll be on the field.
I just think it's interesting. I wasn't making the comp to Thomas, but sometimes these later round linebackers who aren't beasts in the combine just are good football players, right? And they
Yeah.
just succeed at the next level, even though people like the draft experts say that they're not going to be good. So
Yeah,
I took a- I
took a chance.
linebackers and running backs, you can usually get them deeper in the draft.
He had 17 career interceptions. That's pretty good.
for a linebacker
Mm-hmm.
playing in the Pac-10.
No, maybe my notes. I was just going off of something I read, so I mean it could be a little off, but 17 picks, you can't,
Oh no,
you can't
I was talking
question
about
that
Zach
production.
Thomas. My bad.
Oh, oh yeah.
Oh, so Zach Thomas had 17. Urlacher must have had in the 30s then, but
Well, he was
all
a
the rest of
safety in
he
college.
was a safety in college. All the rest of their stats line
Mexico.
up side by side. I know Zach Thomas is right there compared on like Pro Bowls and All Pro selections. He was right on par with him. So, but anyway,
I digress.
so what do we have? 2 more left. We got
Two more. Kansas City, you were on the
KC and-
board, Steven.
KC and Seattle.
We definitely have a glaring hole in the interior side of our line. Some guys have a lower grade on this, but if I know Andy Reid and how he likes to do things and his Philadelphia ties, we're going to take the center, Matt Hennessy, out
Hennessy.
of Temple.
Need fits value at that point.
I mean, he's all over the board too. He's top of the second, or back of the second, top of the third, all the way into the mid third. So I just think it's Kansas City's in a position where they have to reach for what they need because they're already, they're coming off the Super Bowl. So
Yeah, this kid, he's lacking in the strength and power department, but man, he is just a technician with high IQ. So, excuse me, the way he sets up his base and uses his foot quickness, leverage, and hand placement, that's where he's going to be successful. So he's alert in pass protection. I have him listed as a center, but I'm sure
he can kick to a guard spot. But yeah,
he can go anywhere on the interior just because of his IQ. And if you look at Kansas City, I know they lost Mitch Morse to Buffalo not too long ago, but their interior offensive line is really rough, and you got to be able to keep Mahomes and keep him from running around. So that's a great pick. Need fits value.
All right, and I will finish it out. Seattle's on the board. If anybody wants to trade up for the last pick of the second round, just to have one.
There's a couple of running backs out there.
Yeah, that'll be nice to see a couple running backs of these really elite running backs go to the third round. That'll make the draft even much more exciting.
Yeah, it sounds like you're making your pick, Chris. I don't think anybody's coming up.
I don't know. Tim was longingly looking at his sheet.
Yeah, I've seen him flipping through some pages now.
Yeah,
Hold on.
Gentleman's going at it.
Yeah, it is going to be the Giants making an offer right here. We'll go ahead and offer you. Let's see. Give me 2 seconds. All right, so I can't offer you our third round because the Jets have it. I can offer you pick 99 in the third round, as well as let's do it. I'll offer you the top pick 110 in the fourth, our third and fourth round picks to move up to that last spot in the second round.
We'll do it.
With that selection, this is going to be quick and painless. The Giants are going to take Josh Uche, edge defender from Michigan.
That's who I was going to take if you didn't trade up.
That's a Seattle guy too.
Yeah, the Giants are severely lacking in someone to get to the quarterback They took Dexter Lawrence in the first round last year, but could definitely use an upgrade as someone to get after the quarterback. So they made some moves on defense. Bradbury, Nate Ebner, Blake Martinez. They franchised Leonard Williams and then signed Kyle Fackrell, but no one that really can, I guess you could say, strike fear in the heart of the quarterback.
He's like a smaller Bruce Irvin.
Yeah.
He's almost positionless, kind of undersized, really relies on his speed and athleticism right now. I think he only played 58% of the snaps last year in Michigan, but he still did really well in the sack total. You have that sack total? What do you have, like 6 or 7? And before that, like his 2 years before that, he was a part-time player. He only played like 13% of the snaps or something.
That's what
absurd.
I had. Only 657 snaps across 3 seasons, but he's got burst and body bend.
He gets coached up, man. I'm telling you.
So
it's a Bruce Irvin, and Bruce. That's why when you said Seattle, I was laughing because I was like, man, that's a Seattle pick all day.
But he's
But
definitely
since we
the guy.
moved up, we lost, picks, so might as well just gain a third and a fourth at that point.
Right?
So.
Yeah. And there's other pass rushers out there. Like there's a couple I can't believe fell.
So I think he's more of a chess piece. He can, maybe an outside rusher, but he can blitz from the inside as well. So something that the Giants definitely need in a division where, honestly, if you look at Philly and Dallas and Washington, I'd say 3 of the better offensive lines in the NFL. Even though Washington is probably bound to lose Trent Williams, they're still above average in my opinion.
Who's the dude he sat behind last year? New England took him. Miami wanted him, the defensive end out of Michigan last year.
The defensive end for Michigan last year, Chase Winovich?
Yeah, Chase Winovich. He sat behind him, didn't he? So that's why you see the snap count jump way up.
Sure.
I mean, Winovich is a tremendous talent. That's a New England guy all the way, too. It's blue-collar type player. But, yeah, I think that this guy, he definitely has a high-end potential. You just got to find out how to untap it.
Mm-hmm. All right, guys. So that's the second round. I will be posting all of our picks and the trades and everything on social media, as well as putting this video together. So if you're listening to it via the podcast, we also have a video as well. So was there anything else you guys had before we go?
Yeah, I just have one quick question.
Have to split this in.
Yeah, you might have to split this in two. But are you guys familiar with Kyle Duggar, from the small Lenore Ryan School? It's an ELCA Lutheran, tiny little college. He was like the darling of the combine. Do you think he has a chance of being? If I needed a safety for one of those last teams, I would have picked him just because of his school. But do you think he'll go in the first 2 rounds or no?
He has a second, third round grade on him. The potential is there. It's because of the small school, it's going to knock him a little. But they're saying he'll be the highest player to ever be drafted out of there. I think the previous one was like 150 a couple of years ago.
Yeah. Do you know what they are known for producing? Not football players, that's for sure. Pastors. That school produces a lot of pastors, and it's just awesome that he's got a potential to be a superstar in the NFL.
No, I have watched a bunch of tape on him just because he Dolphins do need a safety. We did see 4 safeties get drafted in McKinney, Delpit, Winfield, and
Shin.
Thank you. And I think he's going to be maybe the 5th or the 6th safety between him and Ashton Davis out of Cal. But he did a pretty darn good job at safety. I don't know if it's competition level or what, but in addition to playing the back end very, very well, he's also a punt returner. And I know he had a couple punt kick return touchdowns as well. So he has the potential to go second round all day. It just depends on,
It takes the right coach to fall in love with you, and you can go a lot higher than you're supposed to.
And we'll see these runs because we've seen runs on receiver, we've seen runs on tackles, and it just depends. But it's a pretty decent secondary class. We took a lot of corners and safeties. So,
yeah. I was just curious to see what you guys thought.
No, you got some good tape.
All right. Well, if you enjoyed this mock, let us know, what you thought of it, what players you agreed with and what you didn't. we're going to have a couple more episodes coming this week. I want to do one before the draft. And then if you guys could stay up late enough, I'd love to do one on Thursday night.
Maybe I'll take
live
Friday
after,
off.
as soon as the draft's off. So,
Yeah, I usually take the night off after because it's like me and Tim's Christmas. So,
so let's plan on
we should say
recording.
split it up, but we used to literally have a barbecue every single year.
Yeah.
Okay. Like we
Yeah.
did last year. Didn't we record, or we recorded after?
Yeah, we
We
recorded.
did something on the draft last year.
Yeah, well, I think we started recording during like the last 10 picks. But this,
Yeah.
honestly, I don't want to do that this year because this is our sports Super Bowl because there's no other sports going on. Like,
Yeah, I want to
last
enjoy
year,
it.
last year NBA playoffs were going
Break it
on.
down and everything.
No playoffs, like, so.
Yeah, just give us the format. Email us how you want to do it. Like if you want to
Okay.
break it down by 10 picks or whatever, go live during it, anything.
Yeah,
We're
we'll
gonna go
figure it
live
out.
during our teams, and we can record that just for our teams within the group.
Yeah, Tim's gonna have a lot of FaceTime then.
Hey,
So.
I can't wait. What do we got? 5 days?
Yeah.
Oh,
He's been heartbroken before. He's a Dolphins fan. He's fine.
All right, guys. Well, it was good to see you guys, and we'll talk later.
See ya.
all right.
Bye.
All right.